Mr. Lajčak, you're close to ending the mandate as the EU envoy for Kosovo-Serbia dialogue. Most say, even EU itself, that little has been done, and some even say that the dialogue has failed, it's dead. What went wrong?
Dialogue is crucial for Kosovo and Serbia if they are serious about their European aspirations. Because the European Union made it very clear that before being seriously considered for accession, they need to normalize their relations. So there is no way around that. That's one thing. Second, the European Union is the facilitator of this process, but the process is owned by the two parties, Kosovo and Serbia. And we are doing our utmost to help them normalize their relations. But as I said, the speed of the process and the results of the process do not depend on the European Union, they depend on the parties. When I look back at my mandate, there are concrete deliverables. I would mention the recognition of ID cards, the recognition of license plates, the very important multi-million deal on energy, when since the beginning of this year, we have a standard situation that people are registered and they pay for the energy, electric energy they consume. But of course, the most important achievement is the agreement on the path to normalization that was achieved and agreed last year in Ohrid. With this agreement, basically there is no more need to negotiate, but there is a need to implement. And yes, unfortunately, and this is with regret, that the implementation has not started in earnest. There have been certain things done, but obviously last March in Ohrid I expected that we will be way more successful with the implementation. Why isn't it happening? Don't ask the facilitator, ask the parties, but of course they need to do their part. And if you don't want to do your part, then you look for excuses. But nothing prevents neither Kosovo nor Serbia from doing what they committed to do in Ohrid, and it's clearly written. This document is public. Again, if you ask me, the problem is that the two societies are not ready for normalization. I don't see push from within, from political parties, from academia, from civil society, demanding that the leaders make progress on normalization. It's rather on the contrary. Whenever there is a deal, there is more like criticism that they have stepped, given in, and the leaders don't get encouraged to make progress on normalization. So we need to work to change the mindset. People must understand that normalization means compromise. Normalization means win-win. Normalization means that the agreement can be sold to the public, to the parliaments, both in Kosovo and in Serbia. As long as you live in illusions that you that this is a victory for one and defeat for the other one, there will be no progress. But if there will be no progress on normalization, there will be no progress on European integration. Everything else is an illusion and delusion.
But you said that both parties are not ready and are not willing to get normalization. So it seems that somehow we know the problem. So what should the new EU leadership do? Should they change tactics, priorities? Since you're the facilitator, can you do more to convince them? Look,
basic parameters will not be changed. The basic parameters of this process are well known. And of course, this is that the Serbian community in Kosovo should be able to preserve their identity, feel safe and secure, have institutional relations with Serbia in accordance with European standards and within the Kosovo legal framework. Let's be very clear about it. And in return, Serbia should deliver on all elements of normalization of relations. So this cannot change. And again, I don't think there will be a new agreement, because if there was a better agreement, someone would have proposed. There are the brightest minds who had worked on this agreement. This agreement is fully backed by the United States, by the 27 members of the European Union, and in particular Germany, France, and Italy. So it's again a delusion to believe that with the new High Representative, all of a sudden there will be a new process. The key parameters will not change. And therefore, Pacta sunt servanda, what was agreed must be implemented, is the basic principle. And the sooner we understand that, the better.
But you mentioned that as for the Kosovo Serbs, their rights should be respected. What do you expect as a priority on the other side? So, and you mentioned as well as compromises. Which are the two biggest compromises that each party should do?
Everything is in the agreement. That means Serbia commits to recognize Kosovo's symbols, documents, institutions. There is an agreement to exchange missions. There is an agreement not to prevent Kosovo's membership in international organizations. So you read the agreement and everything is in there. And as I said, nothing prevents the parties from doing their part, other than that there is a very little trust between them. Unfortunately, my term has been probably more dedicated to crisis management than to promoting of normalization. But one important element that I will, of course, stress also to my successor and to the new High Representative is that this process must be visibly and directly linked to the European integration. Because in the past, when the party knew that a progress on the normalization will also bring visible progress on the EU path, that was a very strong motivation.
Are you working on a new high-level meeting between Kosovo and Serbia?
Right now we are preparing the next meeting of chief negotiators. And we are always ready for that. There has to be agenda, there has to be readiness. So for the time being, the next step is the chief negotiator. How should
the dialogue end? What should be the final deal between two parties?
Answering this question, in my current capacity, I can only resort to the official European Union language, which is that the final, or the end of the dialogue is the legally binding agreement on normalization of relations between Kosovo and Serbia that will solve all outstanding issues and will pave the way towards their European future.
Because I'm asking this since in the beginning it was widely mentioned that the dialogue should end with mutual recognition, but as the time went, somehow this was faded. So should it end with a mutual recognition?
European Union's position has not changed, and also European Union also says that it is for the two parties to decide what the final end is. We are not imposing, we are not dictating. Of course we have our expectations, and when I speak about the legally binding agreement, it also tells a lot. But we are not here, and obviously it would be a diplomatic mistake of me saying how I see the end of the process. I'm here to help the parties to reach the legally binding agreement on normalization of the relations.
European Union and you yourself have been accused by Kosovo leaders for an unfair stance toward the country. How do you comment it?
Well, I'm long enough in this business to know all these games. First of all, personal attacks is not a European way. We don't do that in Europe. You need to look into issues. Second, what Kosovo is asked to do in this agreement from Ohrid is something that Kosovo already committed to do in 2013 and even ratified in the parliament. So tell me how this is unfair.
That's for you to...
If you think that you can get everything for free, then of course when you are asked to do your share, then you can see it unfair. But in a real life, among adults, you have to give in order to get. And both parties. That's the only way how you can achieve the agreement. Mm-hmm. And personal attacks will not help because actually they are discrediting the people who are attacking.
Do you see any risk of instability in the Balkans if dialogue continues with such rhythm and both parties continue to do what you consider unilateral steps?
Yes, because we either have normalization, which will bring stabilization, open the way for regional cooperation, which is struggling right now, or we will continue with the actions which are not coordinated with prompt reaction, which is again not coordinated and could become hostile or even violent, and we might be kept busy for years with this repetition of I would say outburst of instability. And this obviously prevents the region from progressing on the European path. So therefore, the normalization of relations between Kosovo and Serbia is not an issue between them. It's very much a regional and European issue.
President of Kosovo said in an interview lately to Radio Free Europe that she considers that Serbia has already withdrawn from the basic agreement, and therefore if Kosovo is to be asked to still form the association of Serb majority municipalities, then it should sit and talk with its allies to ask for security guarantees. How realistic is this?
Serbia has not withdrawn from the agreement. The agreement continues to be legally binding and valid in its entirety. European Union has said this multiple times. And also all the commitments for Serbia under the agreement have been now incorporated into Serbia's EU accession path under Chapter 35. So they are also legally binding between Serbia and the European Union. So therefore, there is no need for alternative approaches. I think President Macron said it yesterday very clearly. The road is paved, and the road is the Ohrid agreement.
He said that Serbia has a place in Europe, but he also criticized Kosovo for the...
I am referring to the parts related to the dialogue, and he made it very clear that he fully supports the Ohrid agreement. France played a very important and active role. And second, that there is no alternative to the implementation of the Ohrid agreement. So that was, I think, very clear from what he said. And for the rest, I will leave to others to comment.
New U.S. envoy for the Balkans, Alexander Sasha Kasarov, is participating here in GlobeSec. Will you meet him? Did you contact him?
Yes, of course. We have been in contact already over the phone, but we are meeting for the first time in person here in Prague at GlobeSec.
What about, there are some Western Balkan leaders as well that might come here. Will you meet with them? Do you have something planned?
I always do. I mean, this GlobeSec is for me the second of the three conferences taking place around this time. I was in Albach, I'm in GlobeSec, and I will be at Bled next week. And of course, in each of these conferences, I'm having many meetings from the leaders from the Balkans, as I always do throughout these years. It's always a good opportunity to catch up and of course, talk about the current business.
We will change a bit the topic. Kosovo says constantly that President of Serbia, Aleksandar Vučić, is behind Banjska attack. What's your comment?
Look, this is, I think the security agencies have already made their statements, and I could only repeat what was said. So this is, of course, it was a very dire and very dangerous thing and very dangerous act. It would change many things, by the way, in the regional dynamics. And of course, the European Union position is that everything must be duly investigated, and people who are responsible for that must be held accountable.
But has Serbia did enough to prosecute those who were responsible for Banjska attack, including Milan Radojčić, that is still free and is believed to be in Serbia?
Clearly, you cannot say that enough has been done when the people who are responsible, starting with Milan Radojčić, who admitted his responsibility, is still not facing the justice. So obviously, no one can say that enough has been done. And our position is that we repeat that he has to be held responsible for this action.
Why hasn't EU still didn't withdraw the measures towards Kosovo?
Well, this is in the hands of member states, and member states have made the decision to introduce the measures, and member states are now discussing what to do with the measures. So that's not a dialogue issue, and you know, member states' dynamics is that you need to have a consensus of 27 member states.
I understand, but we heard from some diplomats that some countries are hesitating. Were you able to talk with these hesitating countries? What are their dilemmas? Why they don't want to withdraw them?
I made my position very clear and public. Right after Banjska, I publicly called for lifting the measures against Kosovo as a gesture of support and solidarity in this difficult period. And I think we missed a very good opportunity to do so. Later on, as we can see, it's becoming more more complicated, more difficult. But it is on the agenda of the Council, and member states are continuing to discuss this.
Will there be a new EU envoy for the dialogue after you finish the mandate? We heard from some diplomats in Brussels that such position won't exist anymore, and the High Representative for Foreign Affairs should deal with the dialogue, which means Kaja Kallas for the next legislature.
I'm going to see the new High Representative in coming days, and we will discuss, of course, all this in details. We have a scheduled meeting, so I don't want to anticipate what will be the outcome, but I can safely say that there will be a new USR, and the team will continue, because it has proven important, particularly for the High Representative, because High Representative has so much on his or her plate, but the Balkans and the normalization process really needs someone who is focusing and following it on the 24/7 basis. And this is exactly what we have been doing. Job is not done, and therefore job must continue, and I believe that there should be EUSR assisting the High Representative until the Ohrid agreement is implemented. So this is a very clear position.
And lastly, EU enlargement stopped in 2013, with Croatia being the last to get in. Will the dynamics change, or should the dynamics change under the new EU leadership?
The dynamic has changed already. The fact that the enlargement process stopped is regrettable, and it's a big mistake, and it also contributed to the number of negative developments or dynamics in the region. European Union came to understanding that this was a mistake, and we need to be more serious about enlargement. Paradoxically, this awakening came as a consequence of Putin's aggression against Ukraine, when European Union also decided to invite Ukraine and Moldova to join the European Union. So this is a huge new opportunity for the Balkans. The door that has been closed for 10 years is now open, but geopolitics opened the door, but the geopolitics will not deliver the membership for the Western Balkans. So it's up to each country of the Western Balkans to use this opportunity as long as the door stays open. So there is a new momentum, but you need to do your homework, you need to do your reforms. But what is really important, in the past, you may be ready, but the door was closed. Now the door is open. So that means those who are ready and committed have a historic chance.
Mr. Lajčak, thank you for the interview.
Thank you very much.